All right, let's get started. I've got some exciting things planned for this class today. We're going to talk about improvisation more, but this time we're going to focus on how to play chord changes. So let's get started with a few things that I put together for you. Okay. So we're going to go over reading chord symbols, which we kind of already went over last week. So this will just be a quick review. And then I put together a step-by-step program for kind of learning how to play over chord changes. So we're going to go through that today. Just to review quickly from last time, scales and chords. We talked about some symbols for chord changes. This C, C major, C minor, C7, C6, or C minor 7. Remember these? And this is kind of how you spell those out in the general key of C here. What we're going to focus on today is this C7 chord, or C dominant 7. And we're going to look at that within the context of a blues progression. Now, a common blues progression is here. And what this is all Roman numerals, obviously. 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1. Remember, these mean same chord as the previous measure. 5, 4, 1, 1. So, basically, if you pick any key, let's say we're talking about C, just because we've already been talking in C. C is your 1, so you would go up to the 4th note of a C scale, and that would be your 4. So if C is your 1, what's your 4?
F.
Yeah, F, exactly. So we would have C, F, C, C, F, F, C, C. What would 5 be?
G.
Not B.
No, G.
G.
G, yep. G, G.
G.
Good, good, good. So in this chord progression, even though there's lots of chords, really we only have 3 chords, right? We've just got a C chord, an F chord, and then a G chord. Okay, everybody's cool with that? Good, okay. All right, so we're gonna do this blues progression, but we're not gonna do it in C, we're gonna do it in F. So I've written out each one of this for each one of you. The best way to do this today might be for you to just jot this down or screenshot it, something so that you can see this right now. Because I'm going to be showing you another thing, and we're going to flip back and forth, so I want to make sure you can access your notes when you need to here. And I can probably just stay on this and show you the other one less frequently. That might be better.
Okay, at some point, Shawn, if you can scroll up when others are done with the C instance. I just can't. Okay, yeah, that's good. Let me write some stuff down.
Okay, can you guys see all the notes for your instrument right now? Okay.
Control.
Somebody's printer going? Is that what that sound
Yes,
is?
I did what you said. I took a screenshot,
Oh, smart.
printed it.
Smart.
How do you do that, John?
For an iPad, you hold down the power and the button key at the same time, and it goes click like a camera and takes a little picture. You tap on that, and then you go to the
Okay.
box within there.
I'm on the Mac, so that won't help me.
You know,
Shift Control 3, Mom.
Thanks.
Or,
Yeah, there
yeah,
you
Shift. Oh, sorry, Shift Command 3.
Is mine a shift command thing too, Eddie?
Yeah.
No, mobile
Okay.
devices don't have that.
Gotcha.
yeah.
I don't know if, oh, for Windows it's print screen.
Yeah, yeah, you can just go Control P and it'll print on Windows.
never thought to try that. Okay, I'm done. Save
Cool.
the photos.
And we can come back to this if somebody needs to see it again. It's not a problem. But this is what we'll be using here. So I want us to play through these notes together, okay? So make sure your mic is on mute, and I'm going to play the notes one at a time. You're going to play them with me. Just make sure that your pitch matches my pitch, okay? And if it doesn't, maybe check your notes. So let's try this. So I'm going to go through each measure. Oh, here's our tempo, a 1, 2, and I'm going to play a quarter note on beat 1 of every measure. Okay? 1, 2, play with me. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. All right, how'd you do? Were you with me? Okay, good. Everybody got the right notes? Anything sound funny? Okay, easy enough. All right, now we're going to do these exercises that I was talking about. So we actually kind of already did this first exercise. Can you guys all see this?
Are the chord changes?
Yeah, well, no, the PowerPoint that I just put up. Can you see it?
I'm still seeing F blues. Oh, wait a minute.
All right, let me try this. Can you see that?
It just says there's a lag.
Is that
see
better?
online. I just started.
It seemed to
Okay,
have
there we
lost
go.
you
There.
guys. Let's see.
Yeah, there.
Could you guys see that PowerPoint?
Yes, I
Now
can
we
see it
can.
now. Step 1, root rest all other beats.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay.
Did you mean for it to go away?
Here we go. Can you see it now again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So basically what we're going to do, what we just did is this step 1. Okay. We played the root of each chord on beat 1 of every measure, then we rested all other beats. Now what we're going to do is step 2. Same thing that we just did, play the root on beat 1 of every measure, but now we're going to improvise quarter notes on beats 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Don't worry about playing anything cool on beats 2, 3, and 4. Don't get too creative, because if you get too creative, you'll miss the most important thing, which is playing that root on beat 1. Okay? We're going to do this together, and when we do it together, you should be right with me on beat 1 of every measure. On beats 2, 3, and 4, you can play anything else, but here's the rule. It has to be quarter notes. Okay, no 8th notes, no fancy triplets. We're just doing quarter notes. Any notes 2, 3, and 4, it doesn't have to fit in the scale or the chord. I don't care what notes you play. But beat 1 is always the root of the chord. Got it? Seems simple enough. Do you want me to show you the chord changes again?
I have a question. Are we just
Yes, ma'am.
playing then, like I was just playing the name of the chord,
Yep,
like F and then B flat, but
yep.
so I don't know what chords are in an F7. I mean, what
And that-
notes are-
Yep, no, that's a great question. So right now, I don't want you to worry about any of the notes that are in the chord.
Okay.
I only want you to worry about the root of the chord. So in other words, the letter name of each chord, okay? So on beat 1 of the first measure, you'll play that F. You can play any other notes on beats 2, 3, and 4, as long as they're quarter notes. And then the next measure, you play that B flat on beat 1, any other quarter notes. Does that make sense? If you're not sure, let me play it for you and play along and just play those roots on beat 1 of every measure. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, and let's see if that makes a little more sense for us. So,
1,
can you hear this?
2, 3, 4.
Let's do this a little bit louder here.
1,
Can you hear this?
2,
Mhm.
1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4.
That makes sense? Okay, so were you able to follow me and stay with me and play with me on beat 1 of every measure?
More or less, yes.
Okay, we're gonna try that again. We'll just do it a couple times until it starts to feel really comfortable. This time I'm gonna accent beat 1 of every measure so everybody can hear and feel where we're at, okay? You notice when I get to the end, I played an extra root as if there's a repeat sign and I was going back to the beginning. I always end like that, okay? All right, let's do it again. Play with me, make sure you're on mute from the beginning.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, how'd you guys do? Did you stay with me?
More or less. Yeah, more or less.
Okay. You want to try it just with beat 1 of every measure with resting all other beats like we did without the track, just to make sure we can do it with the track?
What the tricky part seems to be is that you are delayed after the track.
Mm,
So that's where it becomes a little tricky to keep it moving.
okay, okay. Okay. All right, then let's do this without me. Okay? Just you without me. And let me know how you do, okay? And I'm gonna hold up my fingers, like I'll do like one of these whenever the chord changes, okay? Make sure we're all together. All right, let's try it. All right. And
1, 2, 3, 4.
hold on a second. We're gonna go from this other document here. I think this will help. Oh, whoops, wrong one. Sorry, hold on. Sorry. Okay.
One,
Can you hear
Two.
that?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Do it again. 2, 3. All right. All right. How'd that go for everybody? Do okay?
Yeah, I'm
And you
feeling a
get-
little bit more comfortable with it.
Good, good, good. Did anybody get lost? Not sure where you're at. It's one thing to miss a note, that's totally normal, just to be like, oh man, I missed that chord change, just kind of snuck up on me. But I want to make sure that you're not getting lost. Like, where am I? I don't know where you're at. So as long as you're not getting lost, you're right on track. All right, good, good, good. Let's take a look at this at the next step here. So now we're going to do step 3. And step 3 basically says that we are going to play the root on beat 1. Oh, we just did this one. Okay, step 4. No, oh, we didn't do step 3. Hold on, let me go back.
But we didn't improvise the other beats.
Yeah, if you didn't already improvise the other beats, let's do that. But step two is to improvise the beats 2, 3, and 4, quarter notes, okay? Let's do that. Make sure everybody improvises quarter notes on 2, 3, and 4, okay? All right, let's try that.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Whoops, sorry. Let's try that again, my bad, totally my bad. You guys sounded great.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, how'd you do?
It's getting more comfortable.
Cool, good. Remember, try not to get too creative with these quarter notes that you're improvising. It's just 3 quarter notes. There's no way you can come up with something cool. So don't worry about playing something really cool or creative. All right, good. Let's go on to step 3. If you are still getting comfortable and you want to stay on step 2, you can. Okay, you don't need to jump to step 3. But basically, we're just going to play the root on beat 1 whenever the chord changes. Okay, so the chord doesn't change in every measure. Remember, there's some measures that have the same change as the previous measure, right? So if we go back to that document, let's just look at it real quick together. You can see that these measures that have the little percentage sign, those don't have a chord change. So if I'm going to go through this, I would play from the beginning 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I only have to play the root whenever the chord changes. You see what I'm doing?
Yes, yeah.
All right, why don't you play that with me right now? And we'll do that with the track, okay? Let's try that. With the track.
One,
Can you hear that when I was playing it? Okay, let's try it from the beginning. Here we go. With me.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
In the fourth measure, which I didn't have to do. Did I line up a little bit better that time?
It's okay to me.
There's still some type of a delay, but it's, we can figure out what's going on.
Okay, I tried to anticipate everything by a half beat to try to line it up better, but all right, I'm trying. I'll do a whole beat next time. See if that
Well, I think you might have actually been ahead of the change from what we heard, I think. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the computer's going to grab it first, so you're going to hear it. You have to be even later than you think.
Okay. Thanks for helping me figure this out. I'll do it a half beat late next time and see if that works. Okay. So why don't you try that with me this time? But this time we're going to fill in the blanks. So we improvise when it's not the root of the chord change. So the only notes you have to play are those roots when the chord changes. Improvise quarter notes, all other beats. No wrong notes, okay? All right, let's try it. And do you want to try it without me, or do you need me to demonstrate, or you just want to do it yourselves? Got this?
Yeah.
Give me a thumbs up if you got this. Okay, let's do it. From the top.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How'd you do? Did you do okay?
Getting more comfortable.
Getting more comfortable? Is there anybody who's just like totally lost right now?
Not lost, but I think I finished a measure early, or did it
Okay.
keep going?
All right, that's all right. And I'll let you know when that happens. Usually it's because you skipped one of these repeated measures. If the chord changed every single measure, it'd be easier to follow. But because we have a couple of repeated measures, that's the tricky part. So listen, really listen for this different chord here. When you have that chord that you haven't heard before, it'll sound a little different, okay? I put myself on mute and I was playing and my dog was howling along. You guys missed a great concert. It was really entertaining. All right,
So
you want to try?
are we improvising on the other beats, or just trying to get the right root notes?
Yeah, so you'll go ahead and improvise on those other beats. Yep. Play root, improvise, 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 root, improvise, 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 root, improvise, 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 root. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's try it one more time. Get just a little more comfortable. Go ahead and put yourself on mute. Let's try it one more time. And is everybody muted? Okay, good. Let's do it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're muted. You are muted.
Thanks. All right, cool. So the cool thing is if you're not ready to go on to the next step, you can stay on this step. You don't have to go on. But if you're ready, let's look at the next step. So the next step says that we're going to play the root of each measure when the chord changes, just like we just did. But we're going to rest on beats 2, 3, and 4. And here on beat 4, we're going to play a note that's a half step above or a half step below the note that we're about to go to. Here, we're going to do it the first time just a half step above. Okay?
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's try it without the track and just make sure we have the right notes together. If you look at your chord changes, you might want to jot it down. You might want to just write it down real quick on your paper if that helps you.
So the raised is the anticipating the next root, but raising it up a half a step.
Yeah, so if you're, let's look at the C instruments here. You play F here. Right before you go to B flat, you're going to play the note that's a half step above B flat. Okay. So what note is a half step above B flat?
B.
Yeah.
Exactly, yep, B. So you'd play a B right here. And then right here, before you go to F, you're going to play a note a half step above F.
F sharp.
F sharp, exactly. So you can jot those in if you need to. And then the only time it's different is right before this 5 chord. What note is a half step above C?
C sharp?
C sharp, exactly. So right here, and that's the tricky part because you're about to jump a line visually. So you really have to prepare here for that jump. Okay, let's try it together without the track. Go ahead and mute yourself. And we'll try it without the track just to make sure we got the right notes together. Okay, 1, 2, with me, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sense? Yeah. Did you follow okay?
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but it's interesting. I've never been taught this technique before, so there must be a reason.
Well, this is something I made up, so.
Oh,
yeah,
I like it.
I invented this a few years ago.
All right.
Thank you. Cool. So let's do this together with the track now, okay? And I won't play. I'll just let you do it, but I'll mute myself. All right.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You do okay? No? Now, if you're ending early, you may be getting here and ending early and going, okay, I'm done. But remember, there's just this last measure that's the same chord.
Yeah, no, I just, that my brain is not processing quick enough, but I understand what we're supposed to do.
So if you're not, and that's a common thing, if you're not able to process this yet, it's totally okay. Take the improvised notes out. Just do 1, 4, 1, 4, 1. Just do that, okay? Until that feels good. What I'm doing with you right now
That's
is
all
like,
I was attempting.
okay, good, 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 good. Just do that right now, okay? Don't worry about adding anything else to it. It's really important you just get comfortable with that because that's your skeleton. That's your foundational structure. you can add in the extra improvised notes after you're comfortable with that, because your ears will hear it and your brain will hear it, and you'll be good. Okay.
Yeah.
So no rushing. Don't worry about it. Who wants to try that again?
Yeah.
Good. Let's do it again.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're mute.
I'm
Yep.
so bad at that. If you're comfortable with that, add in the improvised quarter notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good technique because it's sort of getting you towards being more, freeing up your style a little bit and getting into more chromaticism and just not just sticking to the chord tones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you'll start to hear more of how this will help you, because you're thinking about how to get to where you're going. You're thinking about preparing for the next chord change rather than trying to play something cool over each chord, which
Right.
sometimes we get locked into. I got to play this cool lick. I gotta play this new scale.
Right.
And
Right.
then
The chord's already changed and I hadn't anticipated it.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Improvise on beats. You only get 2 beats to improvise. You can't worry about what you're playing. I mean, you literally get beat 2 and 3 here. You know what I mean? The hard part is when you have a few beats to hang out, because then you'll get lost if you start trying to be too cool. You got to think about 4, 1 right here. Okay? All right, don't be cool. Let's try it. Ready? All right, same thing, add the improvised notes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How'd you do?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's helpful, very helpful.
Good. All right, then let's go on to the next step. It just keeps
My
getting better.
neighbors aren't complaining because I've got my practice mute stuffed in my French horn bell.
All right, this is the same thing, and I might just gloss over this step just for time's sake, but then the next step is the same thing, except you're going to play a half step below the note that you're about to go to. Okay? So jot that down real quick on your paper. If you've got a paper in front of you, jot down what that note's going to be. We'll go over that real quickly, but I'm not going to take an extra step to do that just for time. I'm going to let you mix and match before we do that. So if we're looking at our chords again, for C instruments, what note is a half step below B flat?
A.
Exactly, A, regular A natural. What's a half step below F?
E.
Yep, E natural. And what's a half step below C?
B.
Yep, and we'll put that B right here, right before we go to C. Okay? Why don't you try it with me without the track to make sure we've got all the right notes? Just rest on all the other beats. With me, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. to the top. If we're going back to the top. Okay, did you do okay? You got all the notes-ish? Okay, now, obviously we could go through this time, do it with the track, and we can improvise the quarter notes in between, and you should totally do that. I'm just gonna go on to the next step for time's sake, okay? Because the time flies when you're having fun, as you guys know. So, the next step says that we should improvise, which I just said you should do on your own. But now we're going to improvise with those beats 2, 3, and you can play a half step above or a half step below. Okay? Now, if you just got comfortable with a half step above and you just want to stay there, I'm totally okay with that. If you're like, I can do half step above, I want to try doing half step below, go ahead and throw it in. If you're not ready to improvise these 2 notes, that's okay too. You can rest 2 and 3, that's okay. Does this make sense what we're doing? Do you want me to demonstrate this for you? Or you think you got it?
Quick question, Shawn.
Yes,
I don't
Joel.
think I'll be able to do it, but can you mix and match? Sometimes be a half step above the root, sometimes below, half step below.
That is exactly what I want you to do right now.
Okay, so mix and
Yep.
match.
Mix and match. We're gonna mix and match. Beat 4, right before the chord changes, you're gonna mix and match. Or you can just play the half step above. That's cool too. Got it? Still all quarter notes, still don't get too creative, still the root on beat 1 when the chord changes. Ready? Let's do it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How'd you do?
Got
Okay.
about- yeah, I missed a few, but it's getting more comfortable.
Cool. So now, Eddie, I'm sure you're loving this because this is bassland right here. This step 8, this is like where every bass player lives. Okay. So we're all basically trying to become Eddie right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Not that bad.
Let me kind of demonstrate what this sounds like without the track so that it makes more sense. I think it'll make a little bit more sense for you, okay? So this is mixing and matching, half step above, half step below. You can finger along with me or at least play the root with me just to make sure you're in the right spot with me, okay? So we can all hear it. 1, 2, with me 2, 3. That was for you, Carol. All right, cool. All right, so how was that? Did you stay with me? Did you hear where the chords were changing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that half step above or below, the reason that bass players do that so often is because it gives us such a strong sense of pulling us to the next chord. It really helps us navigate the change from one chord to another rather than just jumping from one scale or one chord to another scale. And it kind of reminds me of why a piano player, oftentimes, if a piano player is playing this, they're not going to go, here's a chord, here's a chord, here's a chord. They're going to find a way to get from the chord to the next chord with moving the least amount of fingers possible. They're not just going to jump from one part of the keyboard to another and play everything in root position. So they'll change the voicings a little bit so that they're just moving their fingers ever so slightly, the same way that you would if you were playing guitar or piano too. Just try
Well,
to find
isn't Shawn, isn't it also then, as you mentioned with the bass line, to to cue the other musicians or to give the other players in the ensemble a hint of what's going on, or to guide them somewhat.
Absolutely, absolutely, because those half-step resolutions will draw our ears to the next chord and give us a sense of motion. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So let's try this next step. The next step is a little bit harder, I think. I think this is one of the hardest steps. You're still going to do everything you've just done. You got the root on beat 1 and the chord changes. You got a quarter note half step above or below the root right before the chord change. But on beats 2 and 3, now we can play 8th notes. Okay? Let me demonstrate what this sounds like, okay? And then you can try it with the track yourself, okay? If you want to play the roots or the half step above, below with me, you can, or you can just listen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Make sense?
Yeah, sounds great when you play it.
Oh yeah, it'll sound great when you play it too.
I have a question though about that.
Yes, Eddie.
So that did sound great, but is that the kind of thing, like I'm listening to the bass in the track you're playing?
Uh-huh.
Is it less realistic for the bass player to do that kind of thing and to stick more to the quarter notes to be walking it around?
I think what I'm doing right now could potentially be a bass solo. You know, when they say it's time for the bass to take a solo, then they will usually start adding 8th notes. But usually, at least in this type of music, the bass player will play all the quarter notes. So you would live on step 8. Like that's where you would stay. You usually wouldn't go on to 8th notes.
Okay, I'll try anyway.
Okay, you're welcome to. But if you want to just stay on quarter notes, that's totally appropriate. So
Someday
all right,
I'll get my solo.
Eddie solo, everybody. Okay, let's
Are
try
you
it.
ready for close up, Eddie?
All right, let's try it with the track. Everybody's ready. And here we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Did you do okay?
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Good, let's try it again. Let's have some more fun.
One, two, three, 4.
Good? Everybody good?
Yeah, just flinging fingers all over the place.
Great, that's what we're going for. So, okay, you guys ready for step 10? Again, I'm not trying to stress you out. So if you want to stay on, back on step 2 for all I care, whatever you want to do, totally up to you, okay? The point is, you know where you're at, you don't get lost. You might miss a chord change, but you're trying to make sure you don't get lost. That's your first goal, okay? That you always know where you're at. And then we're figuring out where we're going with that half step above or below. That's helping us figure out where we're going. Now we're starting to figure out how we're going to get there. Okay, so this next step Step 10 is all eighth notes. Now, I realize that sometimes you have to breathe, and that's okay. If you need to stop and breathe, you're totally allowed to do that. But still, all the same rules. We're still going to play the root on beat 1 every time the chord changes. And this eighth note here is going to be a half step above or half step below. I'm going to demonstrate what this will eventually sound like, so you guys all have an idea, and you can play it along with me. Again, if you just want to play the note right before the chord change and the root with me the first time, you can, and then you can add in the improvisation when you do it with the track. Okay, let's try it with me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, how'd you do? I think I missed a note in there somewhere. I think I went to a wrong chord, but were you guys able to follow me other than that?
I was just listening. I wasn't playing.
Okay, that's all right. But you heard where I was? You were able to follow the changes with your ears?
Yeah, more or less.
Good. Okay, good. You ready to try it on your own? Awesome. Let's do it with the track.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How'd you do with all the eighth notes?
It's definitely more challenging.
What
Yeah,
if it
yeah.
was slower?
Yeah, a little slower.
Yep.
And that's totally okay. You can do this out of context without the track. Do it slowly on your own, and then when you're ready, put it with the track. Okay. Take your time breaking this down. I don't expect anybody this is the first time you're seeing this to just be able to excel at step 10. I've done this with college jazz majors at Butler and at IU, and the first time through this, even though they already know how to play changes, this was challenging for them because they're like, ooh, okay, all of a sudden I have all these rules I have to follow. And so, it forced them to take their time. So don't feel bad if you can't do this perfectly. This is not an easy thing, okay? But you see how we've taken this more complex idea and broken it up into steps to help you to learn how to do this. Again, bass lines are kind of hang out in step 8, even step 4, kind of baseline land. But the rest of us, we can add eighth notes. Now, how do we turn this into real improvising? Let's look at this PDF again. So now you know how to read the chord changes and how to keep your place in the form, and how to play the chord changes. What you just did was playing the chord changes, okay? I like to do the same thing we just did, but using the 3rd and the 7th of the chord on beat 1 as well, instead of just the root. And then I like to mix and match between the 3rd, the 7th, and the root on beat 1 whenever the chords change, okay? Bass players, again, typically just play the root on beat 1. They usually don't get very creative with landing on the 3rd or the 7th, but sometimes they might land on the 3rd if they really are really bored or just want to take a step out a little bit. But you can just use the root if that's all you want to do. If you want to get more, challenge yourself, you can try these with the 3rd and the 7th. Then we can practice incorporating other stuff we know on those beats that we're improvising. Okay, so that's when we reach into our bag of tricks and we can pull out things like different scale sounds, like Frege scale and our whole tone scale. And then remember that handout I showed you last time had the Aebersold scale tree of all the different scales you can use over a dominant 7 chord. Any of those scales, and remember Myrna said, well, which one of these should we work on? And you could work on any of them, but these were a couple that I recommended. So you can experiment with those when you improvise over this. So, I mean, I can show you kind of what that would look like and sound like if you'd like. Would that be okay? I'll just demonstrate without the track so that it lines up okay. Give me a thumbs up if you want to hear that. A thumbs down if you, okay. All right. Okay, let's do it. All right. So I'll try it with the whole tone scale. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Make sense?
That's interesting, Shawn. So what you just played, would that you'll be playing that over the same chord changes that we've been working on?
I was playing those chord changes while she was doing it, and it's amazing how well it worked.
Wow.
Yeah, it does. It lines right up. And so I used the same chords. I just did it over the F blues. And all I did was tried to keep my place by always making sure I'm getting to where I'm going and preparing for the next chord change. I'm not worried so much about what I play over the other chords, but because I'm pretty comfortable now with this form and these chord changes, I was able to step out a little bit and start experimenting with that whole tone scale sound over the sustained chords. Okay. So yeah, it does work. It totally works. As you get better at improvising and playing the chord changes, don't forget the things that we talked about last week. Using your ear to find the melodies in your head, using your ear to find melodies you already know, and incorporating different scale sounds, okay? And again, it's okay to breathe and to leave space. If you've ever listened to Miles Davis, he oftentimes will just leave several measures of rest and let the rhythm section contribute and fill the space. A good way to leave space is to take the instrument out of your mouth. I know that seems really obvious, but when I went and studied with Dave Liebman in New York, who used to play saxophone with Miles Davis, he said that somebody asked him, it was another famous saxophone player, said, man, how do you leave so much space in your music, you know? And he said, you got to take the horn out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So feel free to just stop, breathe, keep your place, and then come back in whenever you have an idea. You don't have to play every note or every beat.
I have a question.
Yes.
I feel like this is like going back to before we even started. I should have asked this, but
Huh?
the chords that we're playing with, I don't have the notes written out in front of me, like F7.
Mhm.
So I don't, being a flute player, I never learned what an F7 is to just know what notes are in there. I
Yeah,
can look it up or something, but I think it would be helpful to know that.
sure. Yeah, I can tell you what all the notes are in all of those chords. I think in one of the previous handouts, I outlined the notes of whatever blues we were playing that day, which I think was like a G blues or something that we did. But yeah, I didn't outline these ones. So let me give you those notes right now and you can just jot them down in case you want to use thirds and sevenths. So on the F blues, The F7 is F, A, C, E flat. F, A, C, E flat. The B flat is B flat, D, F, A flat.
Say that again.
B flat, D, F, A flat. And then your 5 chord is a C chord, C7. So that's C, E, natural, G, B flat. Now, I don't want you guys to worry too much about all of those chord tones. That's why I start with just the root.
Oh,
You know what I mean? You don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much information to start with. I like you to learn the process of how to navigate these chords, and then you can worry about adding in just the third. Just the third. And then you can worry about just the 7th. The 5th is a good note, but it's not that important. It doesn't really tell us anything about the chord. The root tells us what the bass player is playing. The 3rd tells us if it's major or minor. And that 7th tells us it's a 7 chord. It gives us motion. It gives us direction. It's a chord of motion or of change, okay? But the 5th doesn't really tell us anything, and that's why I can even substitute those whole tone scales that have an altered 5th and they still work over those chords.
You'll be sending us both the sheets and the PDF or the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I can. And what I've also done, if you take a look at the chat, the first message I sent today has a link, and that link takes you to where I've uploaded. Did you guys get that?
That would only have been if you were on the call when you sent that. You should just send
Okay,
it again.
well, here. Let me send it to everyone then. All right, so that link there will take you to where I've uploaded videos from our previous classes and all of the handouts, and now I also uploaded the PowerPoint, so you have access to that as well on that website. The IHC just they haven't created a page yet on their website to upload all of the stuff yet. They plan to, they just haven't done it yet. So I just wanted to make sure you guys could get this stuff really quickly. So
Great, thank you, Shawn.
yeah, no problem, no problem. Oh yeah, and Carol, I just see your message there. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can access that on there. And if you guys have trouble downloading it or something, just let me know and I'll be happy to send you anything you need directly. So you can use this process to learn the chords to any song that you want to learn if you have the chord changes. Okay. Now let me just go over really quick kind of how to figure out those chords in case you don't have me to tell you what they are. You can start with any major scale. As long as you know what the major scale is, you can figure out what the 7 chord is. Okay. So I had a PowerPoint open earlier, which I was gonna use, and then I changed my mind, but I'm gonna bring it back up here just so you can see this one thing that I want you to see, okay? Give me just a second. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. It'll take me a second to open this.
I can.
hey. How's your hand doing? Your hands?
Oh, my hands are fine. They work great.
Is it your wrists?
No, they just still feel all numb.
Oh, they still feel numb?
Mhm.
No. That's what you were hoping to change.
That's
Oh,
true. But they work just fine.
well, that's nice.
All right, so I've got the thing pulled up I wanted to show you. Can you guys all see that there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, this is how you can kind of build any chord that you want to build. I don't know why it's not working there, but oh well, you can see it. So right here, we're looking at these 7 chords because this is what the blues was. You take the first note of the scale, the 3rd note of the scale, 5th note of the scale, and then the 7th note of the scale, but you flat it. You lower it by a half step, okay? Don't worry about the ninth because we're not even worried about that today. We're just worried about these 4 notes of the chord, right? And I said you don't even have to worry about the 5th. You can just focus on the root, the 3rd, and that flat 7, okay? So you have to play the major scale first to make sure you have the right root, 3rd, and flat 7. And that's how you build your chords. Any dominant 7th chord that you want. You just stack them that way.
Okay.
Does
Very
that make
good.
sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, when I talk about flat 7th, keep this in mind. G major scale. What's the 7th note of a G major scale?
F sharp.
Sharp.
Exactly, F sharp. So if I said flat the 7th, I don't mean play F flat. I mean lower that 7th note by a half step. So
Yeah.
if it's F sharp, it becomes
F.
F natural, exactly. Yep. That's the only time it's sometimes tricky to people is when it's a sharp. So now
Okay, that's
you
good.
can make any dominant 7th chord that you want to make that way.
Huh.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Any other questions? You guys are troopers. You stuck around. That was a long class, wasn't it?
That was good. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're doing this.
Cool. This is fun for me. I mean, this is my stuff right here. I love doing this kind of thing.
I do too. I felt it. This class went by very quick when you said it's late. Wow, we're 7 minutes over. I hadn't realized.
I did
Very
start a
good.
couple minutes late, so that's probably why.
Yeah, somewhere I've got a whole bunch of, I think there's CDs, Jamie Aebersold stuff that I might have bought 25 or 30 years ago, and I worked on it with my trumpet for a few years and then put it aside, and now it's coming back.
Good. Yeah, that stuff is super useful. And he put together a lot of great stuff. I kind of feel like I'm trying to continue that legacy, you know, trying to come up with more resources and more ways for people to practice and learn this stuff. Sometimes a lot of the stuff, he puts out such good stuff, but sometimes it's just a little advanced. So I like to break things down into smaller steps.
Joel, you have a really outstanding background there.
Yeah, we were discussing that earlier.
And it's really good when he's on mute too.
Yeah, I know. Nothing said here. No, I chatted to Eddie. I said, I really feel you looking down at me behind me, but he never read the chat, so.
And now he's gone.
Yeah, now he's gone. It's great, everybody. I really enjoyed this, so I'll check off and bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thanks,
great
Shawn.
evening. I will see you next week, okay? Oh, next week. Is next week the last one? Or is that? No,
Later.
we have another one first. Yeah, I'll send you guys an email reminder, but I'm hoping you guys won't mind showing off your instruments the week after next week and kind of come up with something to talk about and show off. And we'll get some kids and stuff involved in it, hopefully. Get some of the Derek Torah kids.
Yeah, sure. I'll prepare one of the Mozart horn concertos. Yeah. Janice can sing it.
Yeah, but jazz it up.
Thing, as long as you get the whole thing.
I might play a klezmer tune.
That would be great, Barry. That would be perfect. Well, anyway, that would be not next week, but the week after. Next week, we're going to do sight reading and rhythm reading and tricks to sight reading. So,
Okay.
Not even 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks to learn your concerto.
Okay, maybe a brief 2-bar excerpt.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, cool. We'll talk more about that. I'll send you an email to remind everyone.
All right. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you guys so much.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Night.
Bye-bye.